Good afternoon. You guys made it. You made it to the 3 p.m. session. That's fantastic. My name's Harrison Waddell. I'm the Senior Account Executive based in Sydney, Australia. Very pleased to welcome Karen McKenzie from the Warehouse Group. She's the chapter area lead. In fact, the Warehouse Group actually won the Global Innovation Award for MicroStrategy this year. So quick round of applause for Karen, and then we'll get started.
I ngā mana, I ngā waka, I ngā reo, e rau rangatira mai. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome, my name's Karen, and I'm very proud to be representing the Warehouse Group from New Zealand, not Australia, today. I'm in close, but not quite. And I'm here to talk a little bit about our journey with AI. So first of all, I have a quick question. Who here went to the Sainsbury's session earlier today? Yes, I'm so glad, and I hope you asked all your technical questions to Pete and Steve, because I am not a technical expert. And in fact, I'm not going to talk too much about the technical details of our journey. I'm going to take a step back and talk a little bit more about our transformation as a business, the role of data in that, and then very specifically the role of AI within that. And I will touch on MicroStrategy, as that's been one of the key partners in this journey, but I won't be talking so much about the technical detail. And if you do have technical questions, I have Harrison here to help with those. So who are we? Well, we're the Warehouse Group. We are New Zealand's largest non-food retailer, and that sounds really big in New Zealand, but New Zealand's really little. So we have about 250 stores across the country, across 4 key brands. So the Warehouse is our founding brand. It's been around for 40 years. Imagine Target without the food, essentially is what it is. It's non-food. And it's really focused on low-value bargain product. We have the Warehouse Stationery. That's a little bit like Office Depot, so office stationery. Noel Leeming is like Best Buy, so technology. And then the Market is an online marketplace where people can go and sell their own products through our aggregating service. So 4 quite different businesses, all actually bought and built up incrementally, so on different tech stacks, different technology platforms, and in different journeys on their transformation. And as a result, as you can imagine, that makes it very challenging from a business point of view to do aggregation and drive innovation fast. So a challenge for us. And I don't know, how many of you here are in retail? Anybody here in retail? Yeah, so retail in New Zealand has been through a massive transformation over the last 4 years, particularly post-COVID. And I'm sure the retailers in the room will feel this pain. So when COVID hit in New Zealand, we went hard and we went fast. So all stores that weren't basically foods or pharmacies got shut down. And we got locked in our homes for 3 months. So you can imagine what that did. It drove, first of all, people had loads of money because they couldn't spend it anywhere. Second of all, they could only spend it online, which was great. So online in New Zealand went from about 7% of the market to about 25% of the market. People had loads of money. They couldn't travel. You couldn't get in or out of New Zealand for almost 18 months. So they had loads of money, they had nothing to do, so they spent on their house, because they were like, oh my God, I'm trapped in this house and it's not working for me. So lots of disposable income to buy technology, to buy goods and homewares, which meant a boom time for the Warehouse Group. Fast forward to post-COVID, and New Zealand has had a really tough time. So economically, we are in a recession. We have had low unemployment and very high inflation. And as a result, mortgage rates went from about 8%, or mortgage payments went from about 8% of people's disposable income to about 25% of people's disposable income. So you can imagine how much money was being sucked out of the economy by just paying for things that you already owned, or basics like food. On top of that, our core customer, who is a mum, was hit the hardest. So she was really struggling to manage budgets. So you can imagine the market became very tight and is still very, very tight. As a result, the Warehouse Group has had to pivot really hard and really fast into core business, back into core retail, making sure that we have the right products in the right place, making sure that we are fit for purpose for our customers because they have less money to spend. And what that meant was a real whole business transformation. So as part of that, we went to Agile. We were the first retailer in the world to go Agile. Is anyone here working in an Agile organisation? A few. Oh, some fellow Agile people. So what that means is that you split up the people management, or in our organisation we did, with the doing of the work. And what that meant was we disaggregated the people leadership from the project and management. And that meant much more self-serve, much more independence. And so as a result of that, the business needed us to do differently. They needed data in a different way. They needed to be, people needed to be much more independent, self-serving. So you can imagine we're going through a big business transformation. We're going through a big data transformation in an environment that's very tough. So that created a lot of challenges for us, and challenges that we're still facing now. So in terms of what do we do to try and help the business from a data perspective? Well, there were some big barriers, and I'm sure many of you understand these barriers. First of all, silos. So data silos, different data in different locations, not aggregated together, not on the same hierarchies, not even on the same platform. So we were using different data warehouses even for our data. People are often in silos, so teams not talking to each other, squads not talking to each other, which meant that they were going off and working independently. And what that means is you create difference across the business. We had an instance where the BI team, which is part of my team, created 2 reports about availability and 2 different platforms for 2 different teams, and they both turned up to our Monday morning sales performance meeting, and there was a half-hour argument over whose numbers were right, and that was the same team of the same data. So that silo, it was a really stark moment for us to go, we can't do this to the business. The business needs the right information in the right place. And then what happens is we were creating bottlenecks, and BI and Viz became a massive bottleneck for us. So if you imagine, we've got about 12 people in our BI and Viz team, plus 3 people in our offshore group, COE, and we've got 12,000 people in our organisation. And when you say to those 12,000 people, you're now independently able to take responsibility for making decisions, well, they want data to support decision making. And so you just create this enormous bottleneck where everybody's asking for information and there's just not enough people. So we had to move from the traditional BI and Viz hierarchy. You send us an email of what you want in a report, we'll build the report and send it back to you. We had to change the way we're working. We have to go self-serve. We have to go much more democratization of data. The other big barrier is skills, expertise, and productivity. So New Zealand is one of the least productive countries in the world, or in the OECD, I should say. It's amazing for the number of people we have, the outputs that we have as a country are low. So we have to be more productive as a country and as an organisation. So it's a systemic issue in New Zealand. On top of that, if you think about the skills that we have in, say, BI and Viz, for example, traditionally it's like, I can take information about a report that people want and I can create a report for you. The new skill set is you have to be able to build schemas and you have to be able to teach self-serve reporting. Totally different capabilities. So the skills that you need in this new world to deliver the new outcomes of the new technology are completely different. And as a result, the expertise that you need is different as well. And we have to partner with that. In New Zealand even, there's not a lot of expertise in this space. There's some great innovation, but overall we needed to partner for that kind of expertise so that we can accelerate our learning while we build our capability internally. And then the other barrier is cost. Everything costs money. And when you are in a low-cost retailer in an environment where times are tough, cost is everything. You have got to take cost out at every step of every moment and every step and every place. So being more cost effective with the way that we deliver data, the way that we deliver our services to customers was extremely important. And then on top of that, showing true ROI on what you're doing in order to get your business case through what we call our investment committee became really, really critical. So no more, it's great to try it. You had to have a real strong reason and a real business case against that. So what did we do? I mean, I'm sure many of you feel like, I feel like those are barriers that I have heard or I feel really familiar with. So what we did was we created what we call our data domain. And that's a group of people who are all aggregated around data. So it's our data stewards who do data governance and management, it's our data engineers, it's our BI and Viz, it's our analytics, it's our data science, it's our automation and AI teams, and our architects. Very important that we have our architects on the journey. And we got together and said, well, what do we want? What's the value of data and what's the value of this team? And there's some really important words on here because what this does is anchor everything that we do in the organisation, and it's anchored us for the last 3 years. So all of our decision-making around projects, initiatives, tooling, training, the future of the teams is based off this value proposition. So are we going faster? Are we making it easier and faster for the business? If we're not making it faster, if we're making it slower, we need to stop and we need to go back. So decisions like moving to Snowflake, really great example of how we're enabling the business to go faster. Are we integrated? It's really, really fun to make really cool tools. What we had a tendency to do was make tools that were in platforms that actually the business didn't use every day. And so that tool became another thing someone had to do. We've totally changed that philosophy and said we must be integrated into the processes and the tools the teams already use. If we're not where they are, they're not going to come to us, we've got to go to them. And then enabled by the next generation of technology. That's really important for us. We need to keep pushing. We need to keep moving. And it's funny because in the Sainsbury's presentation, they were asked, how did you convince people to go to the cloud? And I was talking to Harrison, I was like, it's kind of easy. Someone said, should we go to the cloud? And I said, yes. And I was reflecting on, why was it easy? And I was like, oh, that's because our on-prem technology was so old. Like you literally had to go downstairs sometimes and kick it. So if you just let your old technology get so old that it's dead, it's a really easy decision to transition to new technology. But it's not a great strategy. You've got to have a plan and you've got to have problems to solve so that then when you see new technology, you know if that is going to help you or if it's just a shiny new thing. So that's our value proposition. We then have some words underneath that talk about how we want to deliver that value proposition. So it has to be effortless and easy, has to be really connected to the business. That's super, super important. And Agile, for all of its trials and tribulations, is fabulous at getting you connected to the business because your teams sit with their business partners. Has to be responsive, it has to be responsive, it has to be fast, and it also has to be able to respond to changing environment and changing requirements from the business. So if we pivot from we want to invest in long term to anything that doesn't have a 3-month ROI is off the table, which is what happened, you've got to be able to respond to that. Has to be trustworthy. If people don't trust what you do and trust the data, trust the tools, they just won't use them, they won't engage. And the last thing is we have to be curious. We've got to be open-minded, we've got to be curious, we've got to keep pushing the way that we're thinking, the tools that we're using, how we show up as a team. So within that, we say that's what we're trying to deliver to the business. What needs to be true for us to be able to deliver that? Well, there's 4 key things that we believe need to be true for that. We need trusted and accessible data. What that means is that you have to be able to understand the data. So you've got to have a data dictionary, which we didn't have. And it's got to be easy to get to. So self-serve is a really important philosophy for us. And what that means is self-serve, not just in BI and Viz and analytics, but in other areas as well. So it creates some really interesting challenges for people like data engineering. Governance and management. This is probably the one that is the most silent, and I would say it's a silent killer of innovation and in particular AI. If you do not have your data governance, your policies, your strategy for AI, and the right people involved with the right sign-offs, AI will die because you just can't get it through the business because it's so new. How many of you have heard of the Air Canada bot? Anyone here heard of the Air Canada? Google Air Canada bot fail. Air Canada had a bot that was customer facing and a customer went online and said, hey, I've got a bereavement, can I buy a ticket and get my money back? And the bot said, yep, you can buy a ticket and you can reclaim that. Okay, so that was actually, that was a hallucination. It was just wrong. That's not their policy. So when the guy went to claim, Air Canada, for whatever reason, said, no, the bot is wrong and it's not our responsibility, that bot. It's its own entity and therefore we're not responsible for it. I have no idea. Is there anyone here from Air Canada? Ooh, sorry. I have no idea why they said that. But they ended up having to go to court, and unsurprisingly, they got told the bot is your responsibility, you have to pay that person back. So there is a lot of risk associated with bots, with AI, so you've got to have your management and your governance and an understanding of where you're going to have humans and where you're going to have bots and who's going to sign what off and who's responsible for it. Otherwise, it can go awry super quick, and you can end up in the newspaper looking slightly foolish. The other thing that we really need is strong partnerships. And obviously, I'm standing here with MicroStrategy. They are one of our biggest partners. We've been working with them for 20 years, over 20 years. And it's not because we kind of got married and then that was it. We had no choice but to hang out together. We have, on a regular basis, reevaluated our relationship with MicroStrategy versus other tooling, and we truly believe that MicroStrategy is the best tool for us at the moment and is a brilliant partner. So not only does it have all of the governance and management, the semantic layers that enable us to govern and trust our data, they also have a great partnership relationship with us, which is really fantastic. And they help us go faster and learn more because of what they bring from around the world into little old New Zealand. And I'm working hard to try and convince all the senior leaders to come to New Zealand and see what we do. And then the other thing you need, and I think this is something that we haven't talked very much about in this conference, but you cannot underestimate the importance, is you must have a future-thinking team. You must have a future-focused team. If that team are not open-minded and curious and prepared to embrace the change, it is almost impossible to deliver a future where you are data-driven decision-making, because your team will stop it. And we've got a great example of where we created a bot that would automatically process orders for a team, because they were very busy. They said they're so busy, they're overworked. So we said, well, we'll create you a bot and it'll automatically process your orders. And then we looked and we were like, this bot's not doing anything. So we asked, why are you not using the bot? They're like, oh, well, we have to do it twice a day. So now we just do it before the bot. That's kind of interesting. So then we did the bot twice a day. And they're still doing it. They're still processing the orders before the bot. So they're very busy, so busy, they haven't got time to do everything, but they're not using the bot. And that is because there's a fear of that bot will take my job. And so you have got to have a team that can see, by not doing this, I can do this that's more value added. I can see the benefit. And then you have got to convince your leadership team as well of the future, which is another story. But however, I'm very lucky we've got a very, very future-focused organisation. So once you do that, and that's what we're really focused heavily on, this is our journey kind of from to. So where are we and what's the cultural change? And I think this is a really interesting way to think about the journey that you might go on, is what are the key things you want to change? Where are you today? And how are you going to go where you want to go in the future? What does the future look like for you? So culture and change is, in our organisation right now, we have pockets of adoption. People are so excited. Individuals. What we need to move to is AI and automation first, with clarity on where humans are going to intervene. That's actually the future that we need to get to. We need to create a roadmap for that, but that's definitely where we want to go. Underneath that, you've absolutely got to have a talent and capability map, right? Because you're asking teams to do completely new things. So we have a talent and capability plan. Then we need tools, processes, and operating model that then adapts to this new way of working and this new capability. We have to have our data ready. And I'll talk a little bit about AI in a minute. But fundamentally, if your data is not good quality, well-defined, and well-organised, AI will not work for you. And so the hard work, you'll hear people say, bots, you can spin them up in a week. You absolutely can. But if your data's not right, what will come out of the bot is hallucinations, essentially. And then focusing on the customer for us is absolutely key. So changing those customer interactions from traditional interactions into really enhanced interactions is key. We will not, our first bot, our first AI will not be customer-facing. We know that. We've got to get comfortable. We've got to learn internally first. So within that, as you can imagine, things like robotic process automation, so automation and AI is absolutely critical. And we've been doing quite a lot of learning in this space, and I'm going to share the cases that we've worked on, two of which are with MicroStrategy and two not. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the two that are not first. So the first one was drivers of store experience. So this is basically people who are giving us feedback on our stores. So it's open text on what you do or don't like about us or our store. And it can be anything you like. So we decided, well, can we use that data and use a large language model, ChatGPT or Azure or any of the other ones that are available, to really understand what's driving sentiment. What we learned, because we learned a lot, and this is really critical, is we did a hackathon. It was a half a day with about a day's worth of getting the data ready. We learned a lot. And we're iterating it again. We're doing a second iteration, actually. But the first thing we learned is you have to have enough data to create robust outcomes. Like, if you don't have enough information, it's hard for the large language model to find any trends. So make sure you've got enough information. The models don't understand context. So when you say warehouse, The model doesn't think the warehouse. The model thinks a warehouse, like it thinks there's a warehouse, like where you put stuff. So it's quite interesting. It doesn't understand your context. So you've got to teach it your context. And then the other thing is the models we were using were totally black box. So results were coming out and the team were like, we have absolutely no idea if this is right or wrong. We've got no way of drilling down to understand what's driving the decision of the bot and therefore if it's right or not. So open and transparent AI is absolutely critical. And there are partners who will do that with you. And I would strongly recommend working with them because it creates a relationship where you can build trust with the AI just like you would build trust with a human. The next one we decided to do was product description. So we have about 2,500 products in our business that are not on our website because they don't have any product description. But we've got all the information. So we thought, well, why don't we get a bot to create the product description for our website? Let's just throw it in large language model and see what happens. And this was really interesting because what we did was we created another hackathon. We love a good hackathon in our business, especially because usually they come with morning tea. And so we did a hackathon and we proved that the AI is great. Actually, to be fair, it's often better than a human at creating product description. Sometimes it can be a bit generous, and so you've got to tell it not to hyperbole and not to create like absolute statements like always or never. But when you line it up against the existing information that we had, so you could just compare, it was actually really good. And so what we could do is say, well, we've got X number of people who are currently writing this. We can make a bot. It'll cost this much to build the bot. As a result, we'll save this much money. We've got a business case, and the MVP is live now. We did the hackathon probably 2 months ago. So we can go fast when we've got really strong business cases. Then the other two that we've worked on have been with MicroStrategy. The first one is self-serve reporting. So this is with the AI tool that supports building your own self-serve reporting. And what we're doing is we're moving Noel Leeming, our business, away from its platform called Prism, and it's on Business Objects, over to Snowflake and MicroStrategy. And so we are, basically all the reports that people have today are going to be gone. I mean, it's quite dramatic. You won't have anything, you're going to go new. Creating a deadline is a really great motivator for people to get engaged and interested. It's like, on June 31st, this will turn off, you will have it no more. We suggest you start working in the new way. So that's really, really important. And then the other thing is you need your right underlying data structure. So what we discovered was that when we did it, is that the masking rules that we've put in Snowflake mean that there are people who can't see data that they need to see. So the financial controller can't see the debtors to ring up the debtors and tell them to pay their bills. Probably not going to work. So you absolutely need to make sure you've got your data structure right underneath, you've got your masking rules, you've got your ways of working sorted out, so that when you do it, it actually comes up with something that's useful. The bot itself, I think it's super cute. I really love it. It's been iterated a couple of times, and we're really keen and really excited about how we can start using it with the actual end users in the business, because we do not believe that analytics and BI is the preserve of a few people in my team. It is the responsibility of everyone in the business to know and understand their data and know and understand what's happening in their part of the business. The other one that we did was what we call short-term trade, or I've renamed for ease of understanding, short-term sales performance. So every Monday we have a trading meeting where we review our sales performance of what happened last week. And every Wednesday we look and see if we're going to hit the weekend. And if we're not going to hit the weekend, we do things to change what we've got planned to try and hit the weekend. So it's really tactical. It can be daily. So what we wanted to do was we said, hey, this is very hectic. There's a lot of information. Why don't we give the team a bot that can help them answer questions? And we have now iterated this. We're on our third iteration of this. So first iteration number 1, we were like, this is super exciting. Let's give it to them. Issue, the bot didn't understand time. So when you said, what happened last week? It was like, I don't know. Doesn't work when you're trying to do a trading meeting about last week if the bot doesn't understand last week. The bot also did not understand our information, so it didn't understand our data definitions. So that makes it challenging. Iteration number 2, we got time, which was fantastic, and you can now put your own dictionary into the bot, so now it understands our language. So when we say TWL, that means the warehouse. When we say TWG, that means everything together. So the bot can understand the language. So when people are typing natural language questions in, it understands where we are. What we also learned, and this is a really important learning, we learned 3 things. 1, the technology is new. So you would never bring an intern into your business and expect it to have 20 years experience and be able to talk to the CEO. So I would strongly suggest that you think about AI in the first instance as an intern or a new graduate from university. They've gone to university and they've got some theory, but they've never worked in an office and they don't know anything about you. So if you send them in to your most important trade meeting and say, add value, it ain't gonna work. That's what we discovered. They need care and nurture and training and teaching just like a human. And if you do that, they go, obviously they learn way faster than a human, but that's where you get the value. So don't imagine that a bot is going to turn up like ChatGPT and be awesome and amazing. You have to put time and energy in it. So the thing we learned was don't put it into a place where they're so busy they don't have time for it. The other thing we learned was don't put it into somewhere where the people already are your most expert. Or actually, I wouldn't say don't. I'd say put it there and somewhere else. Because when you put a bot in with the people who are the most data savvy and the most capable, the bot will never, it's an intern, it won't stand up to them in the first instance. So they will find it a bit of a pain, but if you can convince them to come on the journey, they will teach that bot and mentor that bot in a way that others can't. So we've learned a really good lesson on that, and we have one of our most experienced planners now really championing the use of the bot, which is fantastic. It's learning fast. What I would also do, and I'm going to, because I've been thinking about this while I've been here, is I'm also going to put the bot in a location where people are really commercially savvy, but not very data savvy. So they have a field team that is out in the stores and out in customers' homes, and they have got financial targets that they need to hit. And so every week they want to check that. And so then they want to dig into what's gone wrong or what's gone right or where do we need to focus. And that, I'm imagining in teams, will be fantastic because that's where they have that conversation because they're actually disparate, they're not. They're all across New Zealand. And then it can do things like, I'm going to visit the store, what are the key focuses for me? And that's a value add over and above what the team currently do. So I think we'll find really great engagement in there. So you learn a lot when you do this. It's not that you put it in and it works like magic, I can tell you. But how fast can we go? Well, this is really interesting. This is how fast we ramped up the AI. And this is where I'm saying it's super fast, right? You can basically in 3 weeks have a bot in production. And we do have a bot in production. It's absolutely right. It's like recruiting a grad and putting a grad in. They've got themselves a pass key and a laptop and off they go. The magic of being able to go this fast is the right data in the right place, the right governance rules to get it signed off so that you can go, the right people with the right mindset to make it work, and absolutely the right partner. There is no chance we could have done this on our own. Just no way. No way. So you can go fast with those caveats is what I'd say. And it's super exciting. And then you get a bot and you can play with it and then you can learn and then you can iterate and it becomes very quickly very useful. So I'm going to show you our bot. This bot doesn't look like the bot that you've been making if you've done the bot, but that's because you can customize the bot. So we customized it to green because that's the warehouse. And so what this bot is doing is it's going in and you can start to look at, okay, what do I want to do? Well, I want to look at sales performance. And what it does is it comes and it tells us about the key performance in our business. Where are sales up? Where are sales down? What's happening? And then you can start to drill down and see in more detail, kind of underneath the top line, what's happening at the next level. And then it gives you a number of prompts that you can use to then interrogate the data further. And if you want to use those, you can. Otherwise, there's a little space at the bottom where you can type your own question. And in my head, in my dreams, the leadership team will use this bot to answer their own questions so they don't keep calling me. And so you can see it's really great. You get basic information immediately. You can drill down. You can see detail if you want. You can use your own language. You don't have to know our language or a coding language in order to be able to ask the bot questions. You can just ask it what happened last week. What happened in clothes last week? What happened in shoes last week? And it will tell you. So what are great use cases for AI? Well, definitely, as I've said, great, readily available data that's high quality and well understood. You can go super fast in there. If you want to try it out, start there. If you want to try it out on data that's not so super good, that's fine too. We've definitely done it and we've learned a lot. We learned so much by putting it across data that wasn't very good quality because what it does is highlight very quickly what you need to do to improve the quality of your data. You just have to remember that you're likely to fail fast on that. It's not going to give you the greatest results, but you'll learn a lot. So if you go in it with a learning mindset, it's fine. But if you want to productionize something to give to your leadership team, then probably go with data that's better quality. You definitely want something that you can scale. What will not happen is that you start and you've got the perfect solution that's all bells and whistles and blows your mind in the first instance. It'll be amazing, but it won't be that. So do something that you can scale. Start small and then build up on it. So I'm going to start with sales, then I'm going to add profit, or I'm going to start with a small group of people, and then I'm going to build it out to a larger group of people. I'm going to send it to more people. So you can scale it, basically. Definitely partner. I absolutely believe in this. We have a philosophy at the warehouse about where do we want to build, where do we want to buy, and where do we want to partner. And this for us is an absolute partnership opportunity. We want to be able to understand this technology because it's new and we need to feel like we can own it and control it. At the same time, we do not have the capability or capacity to do it ourselves, so partnership's really important. You definitely want AI that's fostering trust and user confidence. You know, the black box, honestly, it didn't work. People just were like, I don't know if this is right or not. I have no idea if what is told me is true or not. So I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm going to walk away from that. Great learning for us. Didn't get any action out of it. So you absolutely want AI that you can understand, that you can see how it's working and you can understand how it's working, so that then when the data and the results come back, you can trust it, so therefore so can your business partners. And then the other one is opportunities that move beyond current activities. That's an absolute learning for me, and it's a really recent learning. Putting a bot in to do something that your smartest, best analyst can do already, the bot won't stand up in the first instance to that test because it's going to be new and it's got to learn. You know, it's that whole grad. You've got a grad in the first instance. ChatGPT is not a grad. ChatGPT has been around a long time. They've been working on it for a long time. You do not get a ChatGPT in your first instance. You get a grad. So you want to put your grad somewhere where they're going to add value and where they can really shine and learn, not somewhere where they're just going to get beaten up and then kicked out. So if I was to summarize, I would say you need to create a common goal. Create a goal. Create a common goal that allows you and your partners, both within your data environment, kind of in the data space, but also your business partners, to collaborate around a common goal, a really clear use case. Start super simple. Build as you go and get your stakeholders on board early. That's one of the things that we're very privileged about at the Warehouse Group, is that our board and our leadership are very, very engaged in this. It's a great unlock for productivity and profitability, and they really believe in that. So getting them on board early and giving us the opportunity to test and learn fast and early was really important. Then what happened was they went, oh, wow, hang on a minute, you're what? Whew. We need some governance. So absolutely, in parallel, creating governance is really, really important. And for us, what we've done is we've created an AI governance board that includes finance, HR, IT, legal and compliance, can't have a party without them, data, and then the relevant business partner. So whatever AI we're talking about, we bring the relevant business partner along, and they have the capacity and authority to sign off on our AI use cases, but no AI gets worked on until a use case has been signed off by those people, because we've got to have a way of managing it in the organization and controlling it. So I would say start finding those people who want to join you, start asking the questions around, you know, do we have a policy around when we will or won't use it? Do we have a policy about whether or not the bot can directly write into master data or not? You know, there's lots of questions. Some people will be like, yeah, let the bot write straight over your master data. It's no problem. Other people will be like, no way, that bot shouldn't touch our master data. That's a terrible idea. So having those conversations and understanding where you can and can't use your bot and how you integrate your bot into your current processes is really important. Definitely create space for test and learn. I love a little hackathon, or somewhere where you're just standing something up and giving it a go just out of curiosity with a use case, but it might not necessarily lead to actually a business outcome. It just might lead to learning. And definitely prepare to fail fast. Failing is great because you're learning a lot. Not everything you do in this space will work. We've definitely learned that. Clearly identify your use cases. Get your business signed off on what use cases you're going to work on. Sort your systems and sort your data, absolutely critical. Invest in partnerships, I've already talked about that. And then for me, really key, link with process improvement and automation. So when you put a bot in or you put automation in, if you keep your business, your processes, your way of working the same, it doesn't have the impact that it can have if you rework your process and you line it up with automation. So for example, for us, for pricing and Noel Leeming, we have a partner who scrapes prices every day of us and our competitors. So that's the first thing that happens. Then what we do is we ingest that information and we compare our price to the competitor price against a set of rules, and then we automatically adjust our price. All of that is automated. All of that's automated. We automatically adjust our price overnight if we think we're out of sync with the competitor. Then what we do is we then create a bot that scrapes the information of how much we've sold against what our RRP was, and then we've got agreements with the suppliers that they will pay us rebates for that. That whole process is automated with artificial intelligence and robotic process automation. That is a job that we never did. No human ever did that job in our business because we didn't have capability to do it, but we've put in the right tools and processes in place to create a whole new process. But if you don't think about how you integrate it into the way of working, then often it sits off on its own and it's a nice to have, but it doesn't actually get the utility that it should have. And then last, I think this is probably the most important, teach future skills, help your team learn, help your team and yourself. Like, I'm learning every day about these things. So be curious, teach the skills your team need, find the people who can teach your skills, learning on the go as well as learning in a more formal manner. And mindset is absolutely everything. Mindset is 100% the unlock for this. If you have an open mindset and you have people around you have an open mindset, this will go fast and it will go far. If you've got a closed mindset, it'll be like my people who keep doing the work of the bot before the bot can do it because they don't want the bot to do the work because they want to do the work because then they feel important. You're going to get nowhere. So recruiting, retaining, training for mindset is absolutely critical, and finding those people in your organization that have the same mindset as you will unlock massive acceleration for you. So my last thing, keep the mindset, keep it open. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions? No, thanks. Yeah. Anyway, he's just coming with a mic. One moment. I feel like I want to stand a bit closer, but then I might fall off the edge. So I'm going to stand here in a health and safety manner and hopefully not fall off.
Thanks, Karen. That was a great presentation. Just when you talked about, identifying the clear use cases.
Yeah.
We're at a point with our business where we're just, looking to integrate AI.
Yeah.
And we're kind of, as you say, looking to have a bit of a play around. Our data set is, very large. Did you find new use cases as you went along, or did you have clear in your mind, what use cases you thought AI was going to have, or did new ones come along?
Yeah, it's a really great question. So there's some and some. I find that there's a danger, particularly with more senior people in the organisation, that they find a shiny new thing and they have a solution looking for a problem. So like, look at this amazing thing, we should do something with it. Oh God, it's painful. Because then you've got to try and find something to do with the bloody thing. So what you really want is a whole bunch of problems you're trying to solve. And for us, we had two ways of getting that. We had our strategy. And as a result of the strategy, we had then where are we going to go? What problems have we got to solve? Where have we got gaps? And then we also we've had for 2 years a intelligent automation or robotic process automation team set up, and they have created a massive backlog of problems to solve. And what that means is that it's very, very interlinked, the two, AI and process automation. And so that's where we could see, okay, we've already got a start of a backlog, and then we did some brainstorming with teams where we said, look, what are the problems you're trying to solve? And then we basically put them on a matrix. And then we've now got a matrix that we use to prioritize, which I can share with you if you like. And then we've got a use case template that you need to fill in to get signed off by the governance board before we go and start working on the use case. So we've kind of gone through the process of some of our own ideas, some off the strategy, and then some brainstorming with teams, put it in a big pot, mush it around through some prioritization and push it out the other end. And the prioritization includes things like how easy is it to do, how much value will it bring, how much productivity will it drive, do we have the data ready to go, will it be replaced by another tool at some point in the future that we're already planning on putting in. So yeah, but I can share it all with you, it's no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you
Hi.
for the wonderful presentation.
You're welcome.
I was wondering, since when you're using a bot, you know, there's an infinite number of questions the business can ask it,
Yep.
and the bot doesn't always give the same answer necessarily every time somebody asks a question. How have you had to change your testing methodologies to be able to test a seemingly infinite number of use cases?
Yeah, well, we've kept, so with the bot, as you'll see, we've kept the use cases quite tight at the moment for two reasons. One, so that it's manageable, and two, so that we can learn while the bot is learning. So the first thing is that the better your data, so we're busy, really, really busy right now building schemas on top of Snowflake and dbt, so that when people, and we'll point the bot at the schema. So that means that the data is consistent. So at least the data that we've got is consistent. And at the moment, when people are asking questions, we're not getting loads and loads of inconsistency. What we get is weird answers, like, what happened last week? And the bot's like, I don't know what last week is. So I think it's more about teaching the bot about the nuances of your business and the language that people use, so that when the bot gets the same question coming in different ways, like, how did the warehouse do last week? Versus how did TWL do last week? Those are exactly the same question in different ways. You're very likely that's where you'll get the different question. But if two people ask, how did the warehouse do last week? You'll likely get the same question. So that ability to put your dictionary into the bot is really, really critical. You've got to have the dictionary. So there's some work to do if you don't have that to set it up, and you learn as you go with what the dictionary needs, but that's how you reduce the opportunity. And then you just let loose and give it a go. Like, start testing, start trying to break it to see if you can figure out where it's not giving you the consistent answer. But the data behind is consistent, so it'll be the way you're asking the question. Okay, well, thank you so much. I hope you found it interesting. If you've got any questions, then please feel free to come up afterwards. Happy to share the presentation, happy to talk more about what we've done. Thank you.